What's up, gang? Welcome to another exciting episode of 16 Steps. This week, we're going to talk about the rhythm patches on the Roland MC-909. Here we go. Okay, so we're back again with the Roland MC-909, and today we're going to be going over rhythm patches. So if you remember last week, we went over the synth patches, and this is kind of the same engine on the thing for the rhythm patches, but the difference between a regular patch and a rhythm patch is the rhythm patch is basically a drum kit, and then you have 16 pads. You can scroll, you can octave shift up or down, but it won't do anything because it's only on this middle octave. But you can see here on the patch sample page that if you hit list, there's a regular patch, and then there's a rhythm patch. So if we go to rhythm, you can see that you have like the presets and then the user ones you save if you have no card. If you have a card in there, you can save to the card, or if you have an SRX board installed, you can use SRX kits as well. And I like the SRX kits quite a bit. They're not very different from the ones that it ships with, but they are a little bit different. Today I'm also going to be using an external controller, but you can see that the pads light up when I hit the different keys on the controller. You can also see here that it's the same. It tells you like which bank you're on, the patch, the name of the patch, the level of it. There's pan. This is an overall pan. There's a reverb send, and the key. The key is actually in the middle. So this is like if you want to shift the thing up or down, it's like a transpose. The reverb send is sends for the whole kit. And then the output. This is important because if you have it sent to just dry, it's going out the main left and right, of course. You can also send it straight through the MFX1 and however you have that stuff routed. There is also, in addition to what you have on the regular patches, there is the option of rhythm on the rhythm patches. This is super cool because like what you can do is have one patch, and each of the different pads can go out of a different output. So that would give you 6 outputs to assign any of the sounds to. I mean, I would so love 2 extra outputs on this thing, but I mean 6 is pretty sweet. I can get by with 6. So what we're gonna do is hit edit. You'll notice that it has rhythm in it, rhythm tone copy, and the zoom edit. Zoom edit is the same as on the synth programmer, and it's just basically like a graphic representation of your envelopes and the breakpoints. So whatever you have here will be represented there, and then this is also, you can have like a menu with numbers on it, like you do on all the other screens, but the zoom edit is basically for envelope editing. So here we start off, it looks very similar to programming the synthesizer, in that you have 4 tones, which is kind of like, think of those as like layers that make up your sound, and each tone is a waveform or an oscillator. You can think of them as an oscillator, but you can use samples, or you can use any of the preloaded waveforms or SRX waveforms. But they're basically just sounds, and you can think of them as like different layers for that sound. You can see here the first thing on there, it's wave group, but we're gonna initialize this patch, and you'll see like the wave group, this is internal, there's SRX, there's preset, user, card, so basically all of your options are there. Right now this only has 1 tone switched on, and you can switch the other ones on or off by clicking the buttons. The menu, you can, I don't know if you can, if this shows up on my camera or not, but the actual name of the waveforms will show there, and you also get stereo waveforms for each of the tones. But you can also, it will default to mono if you just put it in the left slot. The way to quickly get to it is to press the wave select button, and you can see that these are the default sounds that it has. Let's see, is this right? So yeah, this is a kick. And then if you go to the waveform, you'll see it's plastic kick. If we switch on the second one, I am going to then go and edit the second one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the second one, and I'm going to put just a sine wave on there so that you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So you'll notice that these are all like single cycle waveforms for different types of oscillators. So this is like a JP8000 pulse width, feedback, what is that? 260 sub oscillator, so that's 260 hertz sub oscillator, I'm guessing. Sine wave, pure sine at different rates. So there's our sine that I've got selected. I will exit out of there, and you can see that you have, this is where you can select your left, right. If you want to have stereo samples, you can use that there. So this is your wave gains, basically like a trim. There's a FXM switch, which is the same as on the synth programmer, and it basically frequency modulates the two tones. This is the coarse tune. This is the overall tune for this one pad. So you can see if I go ahead and move that down, that one's fine. But if I select another, it says C4, and these are like, they don't have like a note follow, so this is basically just sounding the pitches at the original pitch is what that's saying. But C4 should be the default pitch. So you can see there's a fine tune, random pitch depth, and then wave coarse tune, which is cool because this is where we're gonna tune down this sine wave. Let's start with an octave and see what happens. Let's go down 2 octaves. Cool. Alright, and then you have a fine tune for that as well. And then pitch envelope, we can look at the zoom edit, and this is your pitch envelope if you wanted to have an envelope on the different things. So let's say for our sine wave we want to have a little envelope on it. That's quite a long envelope. You can set the times here and the lengths. Where is this one? Nope. I'm guessing it's probably just DK. Yeah. So if we go ahead and put a little bit of a release on the amp envelope here, you can see that it just does that when it's triggered. And then we can go over here and do stuff like this, make it go pitch up or something weird when you let go of the key. This is the key on, and this little light line here, that's key off. And then the light line that's in the middle there is kind of like the root. So we can even make it go further. Cool. All right. All right, so pitch envelope, you have the envelope depth, velocity sensitivity for the pitch envelope. So you can make it so that the harder you hit it, the more of an effect that pitch envelope has, and vice versa. The time 1, time 4, you can, or sorry, T1, T4 velocity sensitivity. That is talking about those on the zoom edit. If you look at the time 1 and time 4, you can see that those are you can assign these things to velocity sensitivity. So this is like your attack and wherever that other breakpoint is on that end, assigned to velocity sensitivity, which gets crazy. It's super cool for sound design stuff. I'm trying to keep this reasonably functional today, so we can get through this in a quick manner. We'll see how we do. So this is basically just, you know, going down and dialing this in instead of using like the graphical interface or using the sliders on the front panel. But you can, you know, if you move these around, and then these are the levels for that pitch envelope. So that's, if you look at the zoom edit, the levels are the ones on the bottom, and it's kind of like the up and down, and the times are the left and right. And then we move on to the filter, and you can see this one has a low pass filter. That key is broken. So what if we change this to a different filter? I do tone select. The one thing to know about the way that the rhythm thing works differently from the synth, one of the ways is that it takes all 4 tones and runs them through the same filter. There's not like individual filters per tone like there is on the synth section. So that's like a band pass, high pass, peaking filter, and the 2 different types of low passes. So that's low pass 3 on that one. What happens if we go to another pad? You can have a different filter on each of the pads, but again, whatever tones you have, I'll go through the same filter for that one pad. Then you have your cutoff. And this is that 12 dB filter, which is cool if you just want to cut off some like high frequency content. There's the velocity curve, which can be set differently from the amplitude velocity curve. But the cutoff velocity curve, you can have like up to those 7 different types of curves. And then I think there's an off one for it's just like fixed velocity. And then cutoff sensitivity, which is like, you know, how much of a difference do you want the velocity to make to that filter envelope, if you're even using the envelope. Oh, sorry, this is just for the cutoff. This isn't the envelope part. This would just be like moving the actual cutoff knob. There's a different parameter on filter envelope page for just that. So there is resonance and resonance velocity sensitivity. So you could have, you could get crazy with it, make this super velocity sensitive, and then it should make a difference if it's on something other than one of those, because the two at the top have no resonance, the two additional low pass filters. So that's cool. Alright, let's get this back to normal. Don't want any like crazy weird stuff while we're doing this. I like it right about there. Filter envelope. So this is the same thing. You can go into Zoom Edit and graphically edit that. You can use your filter envelope here, and then you'll see whenever you move stuff here that the corresponding value will move on that little list. So you can go ahead and like fine tune your envelopes. So if we turn our cutoff all the way down, filter envelope is at 0, but if you move it up, you start to get something. So there we go. And you can see here again, once again, you get like all of these, you get your regular envelope, and then you'll see that like this is 72, there it is there, there's your time. These are all of so this is the decay, 0 for that one. T1 is like the distance for how long that offsets. And then you have the level. So this is level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are all breakpoints on that envelope. So you can get pretty crazy envelopes, lots of sound design options, and this is also going to be like the same. Like you got to think of all the tones going into the one thing. So like if you select a different tone, it's going to be the same, because it's all going through the one envelope, one filter. Back to this page, these are all of the things for like the level, the time. We'll go to amp. There's tone level. This is the overall level for the sound. And then we have wave level. So this is more of like a fine-tune way to adjust the levels for each of the tones that you have. Tone pan. And then there's random pan depth, which is will randomly pan the whole sound. All over the place. Let's go back to 0, and then alternate pan depth is like every time you hit it, it picks a different space in the stereo field. So this is going to be going back and forth between left and right. Cool. And then you can did I say? Okay, yeah, tone pan is going to be for the overall. That's not the part. This is just the overall tone. And then this is where you pan the individual tones. Wave random pan switch. So this could be like off or on. Do you want that to be to do the random pan? Yes, no. Wave alternate pan switch on. I don't know the difference between having it on or off or just having it at 0, but apparently there must be a difference because there's 2 slots. This is the amp envelope page, and again you can go into the zoom edit and look at it graphically. You can also edit it here on the front panel. And then here is the wave mix table. Wave mix table is cool because you have 4 tones. Each tone can be a different sample, and you can kind of fade between the samples and how they sound. So if you think about it, you could have like 4 different variations of the same sound and then have the velocity trigger different tones, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a cool way to maybe do like a round robin thing, or to just make more like complex layers, so that, you know, the harder you hit it, the more aggressive the sample or the tone that you have on there, something like that. So you can also like kind of fade them so that they don't just switch. You can have like, you know, one tone that sounds no matter how hard or low you hit it, and then the second one is maybe only on velocities 20 and up, and then maybe the third one is only velocities like 90 and up, and maybe the highest one is just like, you know, 120 through 127 velocity or something like that will trigger those. Velocity fade lower, this is setting up those zones. So you can see like you set them up differently for each tone. So you can say like what's the low number for this, and then what's the high, and set it there. So this is what it's saying. The velocity low range is 1, so it's basically the whole thing is 1 through 127. So if you were to like go to this one, and we'll start going lower, so that we'll make it so that that sine wave only triggers once you hit it hard enough. So what is it? It's at 80. Okay, so that means it does not sound if the velocity is over 80. So we should do this. So this makes it 80. We'll put it there, so that sine only hits after you hit 80. And look at that, it makes the other one move around for you, which is super, super nice and helpful. Okay, so now tapping it lightly, and then once you hit it harder. Cool. And you can do it the other way, so that the upper for the first one is going to be only up to like 78 or 76 rather. And then let's see what happens. Just as expected, it switches. I'm gonna go back and just put those at 127 for both of them, and then 0 for both of these, or 1s, sorry. And then again, there's like 4 different slots, so that's why there are like 4 different zones. The rhythm level, this is for the overall kit. So the entire kit level is set here. So you can see Cool. So that's the entire kit level. Assign type multi means like you can hit multiple things. This is basically your mono or poly switch for the rhythm section. Mute groups are tight because you can then go through. This thing has a lot of mute groups. It's got 31 mute groups. And if you put something on, you know, if you put something on mute group, let's say we'll just use mute group 1. And then if you select another one and put this on 1, and then if you have them on different mute groups, you'll see that they're able to sound at the same time. If you have things assigned to the same mute group, it will shut off one sound when the next sound of that same mute group is triggered. It's the classic closed hi-hat for samplers number. So tone envelope mode is there's sustain or there's no sustain. Sustain is if you have a loop, like a sound that's like a short waveform that loops, and if you want to like hold down the key, then that loop will continue to sustain as long as the loop is set. If you have it to not sustain, it will just make things a one shot. And then let's see what happens next. There is tone, pitch, bend, range, which is how much your pitch bend reacts to the sound. There's an octave lower. So what if we just wanted to do like a minor third? Cool. Let's put it back to an octave because that was way better. Yeah. Totally. Tone reverb send. This is if you are sending this rhythm kit to the reverb, you can have it set up so that, like, you know, let's say you don't want your kick to ever go to the reverb. You can just turn that off and have all the other ones sending as it normally would. And then as soon as you send reverb to the main on the whenever you're in this the mixer page, basically, if you're on this page, you can do it here, or if you're on the mixer, you can send the reverb here. So let's try this. Like right now, you can see there's no reverb. I'm going to go ahead and send reverb here. So you can see that's sending reverb to everything, right? But if I want to just make it so that this tone does not send to the reverb, because a lot of times you probably don't want your kick going to a reverb. So now you can play your kit. Yeah. And then finally, here is your tone output assign. You can send things out to the individual outs here. This part is going to takes a little thinking through, because you have to think of like your left right as 1 and 2, and then direct 1 as 1 and 2, and then direct 2 as 1 and 2. And then, like, so if you want to just say, let's say you want to send your kick out of send number 1 out of your output number 1, right? So then you would set this to actually dry, because dry is basically 1 and 2. And then you would have to pan this tone all the way left, and then it's just sending out of number 1. If it's pan center, it's sending out of 1 and 2. If it's pan right, it's only sending out of 2. If this is making sense, I hope that you're able to follow. I know that this isn't like necessarily like the easiest way to assign it to an individual out, but that's how it's done on this thing. Some other stuff, the pitch and BPM emulation work for the whole kit. And you can also turn the reverb off. And then things like the fat don't really do anything here. Matrix control is I'm not even sure what it does on these, because there is no matrix control on the programming for the rhythm, and I don't think random modify works either. Oh, it does. And it works like the other method, where if you turn it all the way one way and then all the way back, it starts over. So you can hear here, this is the normal sound. It sounds like we've got some slight pitch going on, and maybe the low pass filter is closing. And as long as you're not going all the way left or all the way right, you can play around in this range. But once you hit all the way right and then start back all the way left, it's going to do something different. So we're back at our regular sound. So this just sounds like it's like opening a filter. And of course, I don't think the fat and unison portamento don't work in this mode. So neither does the fat knob. So if you want to save a rhythm kit, the thing that you need to remember is that you have to save it before you move into editing another sound or something like that. You have to save before you start working on other things. Because if you start editing another patch, you're going to lose what's on this. So if you're happy with that, go ahead and save it. You can save it. Let's call it something else. Let's call it Funk Rhythm. That is such an original name and in no way like representative of what the sound actually is. So you'll see this is like my card, right? And I have a whole crap ton of slots for that. What is that? 128. That makes sense because you want to be able to load them with program change CCs. You can compare it to what's already there by hitting the compare button. So that is blank, right? And that's what it sounds like. I'm going to save this to my card. I hit right. Patch rhythm set right. Are you sure? Yes. And then it's written. And you can also see here, this is the reverb send. We did switch that reverb off. And then this key is for the entire kit. And then the pan, this is the easy place to set your external out. So if you pan it for any of the regular patches, I should note. For the rhythm one, you're gonna have to pan it inside of the actual kit itself, not from this page, because here you'll have to just put it on rhythm, and then it would send out the individual outs. So I hope this has been helpful. I'll see you on the other side of this. All right, that's about it for the rhythm patches on the Roland MC-909. I hope you found this useful. I hope you find a way to work some of these tips into your productions. Next up, we're going to be covering the sampling section of the MC-909, and I hope you'll stay with us, and I will see you then. Until next time, peace.